Hello everyone, it's a new episode of JSP Coffee Podcast, and today we have a new exciting guest joining us. Meet Quimby Melton, the co-founder and CEO of Confection. Over the past 15 years, he's been at the helm of different ventures, including marketing consulting agency, logistic application for offshore energy market, two business marketing apps, a modular housing company, and a collection of content sites and short films. Today we are going to discuss data collection and its analysis, why it's crucial for businesses. Also, we'll dive a bit into the marketing trends that companies need to follow to stay competitive and modern at the market. Hi, Quimby, how was your day?
Hey, Olga, it's going great, just fine. Thank you so much. I appreciate the opportunity to be on the podcast and chat with your audience.
Thanks for joining me today. So today we are going to talk about data collection and analysis. But let me first start with the question that relates to the previous interview that I've read online. You've mentioned that marketing is arguably the most difficult challenge for any enterprise. So can you dive a bit more into why you see that this way, and what aspects of marketing do you find particularly tricky or crucial?
You got it. So, businesses are in essence just a series of inputs and outputs, right? And I think a lot of tasks that go on in an enterprise are pretty binary, profit and loss, right? Tasks getting done or not done. Positions are filled or they're not filled. But marketing is really pretty different. Sometimes I'll describe it as a quantum reality, right? What I mean by that is the inputs and outputs are kind of in a constant state of change. So a lot of things we can only observe indirectly, right? Did a campaign work? Seems like a simple question, but it's actually a very complicated one because the inputs are very complicated as long as the outputs are ambiguous. So, the way we model our ideal customer profiles and our content and our campaigns, they're also based on predictions and theses rather than hard facts, right? So we're living in this kind of ambiguous quantum world. And ultimately, I think, marketing is a process. It's really a process of engaging with human desire in a B2C context. You're trying to spark desire, and human pain in a B2B context. So those are in essence, very difficult, complex, ambiguous things. And I would say, unlike security filings or tactical project management, engaging with desire and pain brings us into the realm of myth and literature and the creative arts. So marketing, in essence, is about human nature, which is inherently complex and difficult and ever changing. So I think that world in which things are constantly changing, your inputs and your outputs, make marketing especially challenging, difficult to model with precision, and ultimately, that's why I like it though, because it does bring together these human elements, and it's always a very interesting challenge.
Yeah, right. I agree with you totally. Marketing is all about prediction.
Yeah, prediction.
You can't be 100% sure that
That's
exactly
right.
will work, but as far as we collect at least some data, we have in our hands some sets of stats that can help us not to be blind while making some decisions. So let's switch a bit to data collection and analysis. A lot of businesses collect data from their websites, landing pages, forms. They're truly trying to collect as much as possible. But why exactly they should do that, and what exactly information should they collect?
Right. So, harvesting the wheat is one thing, right? And baking the bread is a very different thing. And I think about that a lot. And a lot of the consulting work that I've done has been on exactly that topic where there's a relatively good data set. The problem is then interpreting that data set and making something actionable out of it, right? So I think that's probably something that a lot of teams struggle with, not necessarily uh, data harvesting, right? But making something out of it. So um, I mean, personally, I think the key questions are really what are web properties telling us about channel performance, right? When we spend money here, or Tom, right? We spend time prepping a content asset. What is it doing for us? And that could be simple things like what interest do we see based on inbound, channel activity, right? Who's downloading things, who's not downloading things, kinds of activities do we see on our website around that content asset. So I think channel analysis, because it goes to Tom and budget, is really, really important. Um, so that'd be my key takeaways. And I think most of the work that I've done internally, as well as with some of my consulting work, is framed around those key questions. Basically, where are we spending time and money? What are they doing for us, right? And what adjustments do we need to make going forward?
Great insight. What kind of information are companies probably already gathering yet remain uncertain about how to like wisely integrate this knowledge into the strategies.
Yeah, so I would say, most businesses have at least a passive way of collecting basic things like page view information. Like how many hits did this site get or this page get? They probably have some mechanism for tracking channel activity. Where did people come from? Asking those very fundamental basic questions. I think the challenge now and going forward is really what is the quality of that information? Am I getting as complete a view as possible about that information? Because the problem is when you're living in a reality where there are disruptions involving cross-domain scripts, third-party cookies, and traditional pixels, what winds up happening is the data flows are anemic, right? And in this situation where the data flows are anemic, you can have the basic information set that you're making decisions on, but if you don't have complete information or you have like 50% of your information missing, it can be difficult to make an actionable decision based on information. So I think the key questions and data points remain the same. Personally, I just feel like the key challenge going forward is ensuring that you control the data flows so that your information is high quality as possible.
Looking at the bigger picture, how do smart data collection and analysis play a role in shaping effective marketing and sales strategies for the companies?
Right. So internally, internally and again in my consulting work, I'm really focused on signal intelligence that helps us build a holistic model of all of our efforts. So in this way, there's kind of a notorious disconnect between sales and marketing, right? But closing that disconnect is so important. And you want to get to a situation where sales is trusting marketing for leads that they know can help them meet their quota, right? And you want marketing to trust sales to give them actionable information back up the funnel that they can use in ad campaigns, content, and whatnot. So generally, that's what I'm really focused on is making sure that we combine sales and marketing into one holistic model. Once that's done, we can really start to tinker with the valuable things, persona definition and development. Who are we trying to reach, right? Messaging development. What messaging is allowing us to convert those people into kind of sales calls in a B2B context, and then convert them into customers, obviously. And then systems engineering, that would be the marketing operations side of things, which is essentially when a lead hits our CRM, whose job is it to follow up? And then 2 weeks later, what do we do? And so on and so forth. So for me, collecting these bits of information and then pushing them through this holistic model and making sure that you're able to meet your revenue goals, in essence, is the point of all this, is the critical factor in terms of inputs as well as planning outputs as a strategy.
So, as far as I understand, a lot of information we are losing from stages between sales point and marketing point, and
Yes.
potentially we don't have a lot amount of leads converted due to the fact that we have this gap.
I think that's accurate. And let me draw a distinction between two types of information loss. So let's just talk about like tactical control within your CRM. A lot of businesses, I don't think, do a great job of journey mapping within a CRM. So that could be like simple things like lead sources, like where did a lead come from, right? How many touches are required to get him or her to a meeting and then to a closed deal conversion of that. So that would be kind of the human component, just the marketing operations component, some advantages there. Or, I'm sorry, there's some opportunities there for teams. Then there's also the basic data model of ingestion, like bringing information in from your web properties in essence, right? So these twin challenges, I think, undermine performance, at least in the companies that I worked with. Once we address these twin challenges of, let's say, data exhaust from a web property, and also the human side of intelligence in terms of CRM management, once we fix those two, good things begin to happen.
Thinking back about the buzz around the targeting in 2023, and a lot of companies struggle with collecting loads of data, especially with those restrictions and new brother features. How does your product step in helping those businesses to overcome those challenges and make the most of their targeting efforts?
I'd say that the technical challenges presented by privacy protocols like GDPR are relatively easily supported, right? In terms of it's not difficult to build some sort of widget that allows you to check all the GDPR boxes and make sure that what you're collecting is compliant with that. So I'll sort of take that as a given. I would say the next step in the challenge is this idea of data quality, right? This is the key technology challenge I think that Bruno and I have worked with in terms of making sure the data is high quality enough. So our real goal is to help marketers take control over page views, acquisition intel, and other primary digital data, right? And so once that's done, our customers can operate from an independent position, meaning no one generates better data from their web properties than they do themselves. So the GDPR component is relatively easily solved. It's this other technical challenge, just of getting the information from one place to another. That is the key challenge and the thing I think that makes a lot of marketers pull their hair out, and the challenge that we set out to solve. Olga, if I can ground this in a very specific example, I had a conversation maybe 2, 3 weeks ago, and it was with a VP of sales at a large technology company. And she put it perfectly. She said, we have all these tools and they all have their own version of the truth, right? But we find ourselves asking, what is the truth, right? Like what is the thing that we can use to evaluate all these tools? And I think a lot of marketers find themselves in that position where they're just not sure what the truth is because they have all these tools telling them very different things.
Yes, right. Like me as a marketer, I regularly using a couple of tools to collect information from the website, from the landing pages, and from the ad campaign that I'm running. And probably the numbers sometimes are significantly different from those trackers. Like, and it's not just 20 clicks; it's might be the hundreds even.
You got it all, and it's funny. Like all you do is barely scratch the surface, right? And you fit it perfectly, where you'll have discrepancies of hundreds, or like, if we're talking percentages, you'll have 100% difference between two different reporting platforms. And how can marketers do their best work in that environment because you don't know where to start? And this goes back to the technical why is this happening? Is just the cross-domain script disruptions that we were talking about earlier. But I think it's a very relatable challenge for a lot of marketers. I think it goes to the essence of why it's so important to take control of your primary data set so that you can ask a simple question like, where did most of my traffic come from? And get a reliable answer.
With the way consumers are changing their behavior right now, how do you suggest businesses use data and analytics to get insights into their target audience, allowing them to create more personalized and resonate marketing campaigns? Like we have AI tools right now that are helping us to better interpret information.
Yeah, so let's leave the technical disruptions aside for a moment. And we talked a lot about that. I think one of the challenges is not just the checking the GDPR boxes. There's also a kind of quantitative challenge out there in terms of people feel like they're having something stolen from them, right? And I think a lot of the privacy advocates or fanatics, depending on the personality, they feel like something's being stolen from them without compensation, right? So I feel like one thing that marketers can really do is do a better job of communicating what exactly we do with this information, right? And at the end of the day, marketers are really trying to use this information to make better products, right? Create more targeted, relevant content, and do all sorts of things that make life better for everyday web users. So I think there are technical challenges here, there are policy challenges in terms of GDPR, and there's also just simple communication challenges, namely, we do get this information, and this is how we use it to make life better for you. And I think if we can do that communication a lot better, we'll turn down the resentment a lot more.
Yeah, like even me, like as regular internet surfer, going from one website to another website, I share a lot of information with those
Right.
websites. And sometimes I don't understand why websites tracking this information particularly. Even sometimes I have the feeling that this information is stolen from me, or like some kind of feeling that this
Right.
information might be sell afterwards to some third parties. I think that in case companies will somehow let you know that this information is collecting for providing you for better services, better content, better proposition, people will be more willing to share their information.
And that's bad marketing, right? If you were collecting first party information just to sell as a list or something, that's evil marketing, right? We don't want to do that. What we want to do is exactly what you're talking about, where you get information and then somehow that information makes the world better for you, right? Whether that's through some kind of thought leadership in a B2B context, product improvement or a in a B2C context. Um, Also, for whatever it's worth, that one of the things Bruno and I think have really discovered through the confection process, Bruno being my co-founder, is I think a lot of times personally identifiable information is actually overrated. And what I mean by that is what you really want is trends, right? You want to see like how well am I doing at saying this is my customer persona, and I'm creating content assets that resonate with this persona type, right? So you can do a lot of great marketing work even if you don't have some kind of invasive person identifiable information. It's helpful, right, in certain contexts, but it's not necessarily lights out if you can't, collect every from every person who comes to your site some kind of personally identifiable information, because you can do a lot of work in the aggregate and a lot of great work with trends, and those don't necessarily have to be personally identifying.
Have you seen any real changes how companies handle data since they started using AI technologies?
Yeah, so I thought that was a great question. I gave it a little bit of thought. What I've seen is basically two things. First of all, things like ChatGPT can make, writing Python and SQL and things like that pretty much effortless, right? So when you reduce those technical barriers for marketing or for marketers who may or may not be technically enabled, they can do a lot of interesting things, a lot of interesting projects for lead generation, for tool building and things like that. So allowing lay marketers with maybe modest technology skills to build interesting, engaging assets is a huge one for AI, I think. Analyzing large data models too. Like, let's say you have a year's worth of data, and you want to ask a basic question like, what content in this year-long data set seems to be most popular based on page views, and where does that most of that traffic come from, right? And it might be very time consuming for you to model it out in a spreadsheet, but you can deliver the same data to like a chat GPT and have it analyze it for you really rapidly. I've done both of those, and I know the companies and my peer marketers that I'm friendly with do those two things as well. And I think those are only benefits for marketers.
Yeah, you're right. Like, as far as I understand, like even for example, company owners, they are not all always
Right.
marketers or marketing educated. So for them, like using the ChatGPT for interpretation of the stats they collect from the website or any other source, might really help them to understand better the information that they receive.
That's right. That's right. So that makes small business owners like mom and pop e-commerce stores, or other kinds of small businesses, which are basically the backbone of our economy here in the U.S. I think you're exactly right. If you have limited marketing analysis skills, something like a chat GPT can be very helpful for you making sense of what you should do next with your marketing plan. Exactly. Yeah.
We've been talking about this earlier a bit, that more and more people are unwilling to share their data online and even have some feeling that their information was stolen from them. How you continue gathering extensive amount of data, but while ensuring we uphold customer
Yeah.
trust and loyalty?
Great question. Again, like I said, I think it's easy to check off simple things like, to some extent, the technical barriers, using a product like ours, and then checking off the GDPR style requirements. That's relatively easy. So we're back to this idea of how do we let people know how they're benefiting from the information that they give us. I think being very transparent, nothing groundbreaking here, transparent on how you collect the information and use it. The challenge, Olga, in my own work, what I've found is that some people just can't be satisfied, right? And there's all kinds of strange paradoxes where I'll have people reach out to me and give me far more information than I ever had about them, you know, just to tell me that, we're doing an evil thing, right? And I don't necessarily know how to manage that. What I generally tell people now is hold on before you give me all this information, right? So I can opt you out of our system. Realize that I don't know who you are. You're a random identifier in a database, and it'll be gone in 24 hours. So do you still want to give me this information? I think really the lesson here is that things have gotten so bad, right? And trust is so low that people act in irrational ways. So there's only so much that policies like GDPR can do, and there's only so much that technology like Confection can do. At the end of the day, this is going to come down to like a good marketing campaign to fix marketing problems, right? Which is just better communication about, yes, we get this, but this is how it benefits you. And that's been part of this journey that I didn't anticipate in advance, but it's been a very interesting one to realize how hostile people are and how ugly things are out there and how violated people feel.
Yeah, personalization is a big deal in marketing right now. How to walk the line of tailoring campaign to individual preferences without crossing any private boundaries.
Well, people want paradoxical things, right? And sometimes I kind of view this through the lens of being a dad, right? Because I understand, kids will want very paradoxical things. And sometimes when I feel like I'm dealing with people who are being very aggressive about what we're doing, I'll feel like it's kind of like dealing with a childlike mindset where people do want personalization, right? They want better products. They want all these things we're talking about. They just don't understand how these two things connect, right? And so they feel like something's being stolen from them. And we're not doing a good job of connecting the dots for them. Because I know that people do want personalization. They want better products. They want better thought leadership assets, content assets they can use to make their um, work lives easier. So I'm not sure that demand for personalization will necessarily go down. I think if anything, it will go up. The challenge is just connecting the dots for people and saying, the only reason I can give you this personalization is because you gave me this. Let's just call it data exhaust.
So I guess better to provide them with the full information before the start. Like you need to inform them why you're taking this data, what you're going to do with this.
I think that's right. And the form that that takes is not some kind of like exhaustive list that no one's going to read, right? Like your privacy statement or something like that. I think the key is building a culture of trust with your customers, with your site visitors and things like that, where again, on their own, they say, business X collects Y so they can give me Z, right? And I think you really have to build that culture of trust because I'm not sure you can win this with checklists and bullet points and opt-in, statements on your website and things like that. I think you have to build it. I think you have to solve it with a culture of trust and a culture of knowledge where everyone understands what's going on and why. I would say, Olga, from a technical standpoint, third-party data sharing is probably not going to help with this, right? Selling information is definitely not going to help with this. So I think saying, look, we build a wall, right? What you give us is a first-party asset. We store it here, and we use it to make your life better. And I think once you establish that culture of trust with your customers, everything else will fall into place.
I know that
And don't do bad stuff. Like just don't do bad stuff with the information.
some of the websites like still collecting the data from the customer. They making the list with this, and somehow they forming this list for some particular company
Right.
or like the company's needs, and they sell it to different companies that like not like selling it, they providing the option to download it for money and use it for your targeting campaigns like on Google, on Meta. What do you think about this?
That's right. And the most frustrating thing about that, other than it's wrong, is it doesn't work. Like there's no value there. There's tremendous value in establishing a one-way dialogue with your customer, right? Being able to link those dialogues together and say, okay, I need to do this, right? That's valuable. Buying a list from the dark web or some like, list broker, like it isn't helpful. And anyway, you don't even need to do that because there's tools like Apollo and Seamless and LinkedIn Sales Navigator out there that make that process very easy and very ethical. So not only is it not necessary, it just doesn't work. And so for me as a marketer, that's my ultimate frustration is that those things persist um, and they don't work and they just make everything worse somehow.
Yeah. In the world of overfloating with content, what strategy do you recommend for businesses to stand out? How can they create content that not only grabs attention but also really connects with their audience on a deeper level?
That's a great question. And I should say I'm a B2B marketer, right? So a lot of B2C things are sort of mysterious to me. So I can really only comment on this from a B2B perspective. I think, thought leadership that helps potential customers or existing customers do their jobs better, whether they spend money with you or not, right? That's the cornerstone of content marketing. the cornerstone of things like HubSpot's inbound. And it's just important to frame those kinds of assets in that way. And once you do that, podcasts like this are a great example of that as well, Olga. You're going to thrive, right? And I think, it's important to sort of work back from results and understand what these content assets are doing for you, and making sure that you're building the assets that allow these people your customers to do their job in the best way possible.
Yeah, I think that probably you should provide the content that really educates your clients and potential customers. It should provide some value to them, and you kind of need to build some more friendly relations between them, more tight relations between them. So I guess educating your clients is the most valuable thing in the means of connecting with the client.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Help people do better with their professional lives, right? That's kind of the key goal.
Considering the constant shifts in traditional advertising, what fresh approaches should businesses be thinking about to reach that target audience effectively in 2024?
Yeah, this is a simple one. I would say, once you've taken control of your primary digital data, including platform-specific identifiers like click IDs, browser IDs, and user IDs, you can begin to do really interesting things with it in a campaign. So a lot of times I'll talk to our customers and say, we need to think about self-pixeling your data, right? That's basically sending in information into your paid campaigns that traditionally some sort of cross-domain script would have done for you. When you do that, it substantially increases your audience size. It puts downward pressure on wasteful spending, think like CPMs, and it improves performance. So we see this time and time again that taking control of this pixel data, writing into your campaigns has substantial outcomes.
Thanks a lot for such an interesting conversation. And I think you have provided a huge amount of insights that startup owners or small medium businesses can use in their path to data collection and analysis. And it will help them better understand what data to collect, how to store it, what to do with it. And also, I hope they will receive maximum from it.
A pleasure, Olga. Always love marketing shop talk is one of my favorite things. So always welcome the opportunity to have conversations like this, and I hope you and your audience found it helpful. So thank you for the opportunity.
Thanks a lot. Bye. Have a nice day.
You too, Olga. Thank you.
Thanks everyone for watching. I hope you enjoyed our today's talk with Quimby Melton. In case you liked our video, please don't forget to press the thumbs up button below and also share it with your friends. In order not to miss our future videos, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. It will really help us grow and also create more and more interesting content for you. Bye everyone.